The wind scraped against Malik Grant's cheeks as he pedaled through the early dawn chill, the city not yet fully awake. The traffic lights blinked on empty intersections, and the distant hum of buses warming up echoed through the streets he quietly helped redesign. Malik liked these rare silent hours, the only time he could ride without cameras, meetings, or headlines. But the peace shattered at the sharp bark of a siren. A cruiser screeched beside him, the tires cutting too close. Officer Wade Harlan leaned out, smirking as if he'd been waiting for the moment Malik passed by. "Hey," Wade called, loud enough for the few pedestrians nearby to watch. Didn't know Cyclist came pre-packaged with excuses these days. Malik steadied his breath, the humiliation settling in his chest like grit. "Is there a problem, officer?" Wade laughed, a cold, mocking sound. "Problem? You tell me why you're riding that bike in this neighborhood. Looks a little above your pay grade, don't you think?" The onlookers paused, whispers soft but sharp. Malik felt heat rising behind his ears, not just anger, but the sting of recognition. This wasn't new. This was the same old script, performed again and again, just with different stages and uniforms. Before he could respond, Wade's expression shifted. Predatory. Certain. "Step off the bike," he ordered. "Now." Malik froze, halfway between resistance and surrender, as Wade's hand moved toward the radio. A message crackled through. "Unit 34 priority notification. Transportation Minister en route to headquarters." Wade's thumb hovered over the button, and Malik knew exactly what was coming next. The sun was barely rising when Malik Grant pushed his bike along the painted lane, the cool morning air brushing against his arms. He appreciated these early hours, quiet, unfiltered, the kind of calm that reminded him why he fought so hard for safer cycling routes throughout the city. He had designed half of them himself. Yet today, peace felt fragile, hanging by a thread. A cruiser rolled up behind him, slow at first, then abruptly accelerated, cutting too close. Malik braked instinctively. "Here we go," he muttered under his breath. Officer Wade Harlan leaned out the window, grinning like a man rehearsing a punchline. "Morning," he called out. "You always ride like you own the street." Malik steadied his voice. "Just staying in the bike lane, officer." Wade let out a sharp laugh. "Bike lane? You think that stretch of paint gives you special privileges?" He scanned the bike. "Nice wheels. Didn't expect to see something like that under someone like you." Malik felt the sting immediately. He kept his gaze level. "Is there a reason you stopped me?" A couple walking their dog slowed to watch. A man near a bus stop pulled out his phone, pretending to scroll while recording. Malik noticed every eye, every angle. A familiar pressure tightened in his chest, the kind that came from being turned into a public lesson. Wade stepped out of the cruiser, posture wide, authority radiating from him like heat. "Yeah, there's a reason," he said. "Your attitude needs checking." Malik inhaled slowly. "I didn't give an attitude." "You just did." Wade gestured at the bike. "Step off." "Officer," Malik said carefully, "I'm just trying to get to work." "Oh." Wade smirked. "And what's that? Delivery? Maintenance? Or one of those app riders?" Malik's jaw tightened. "Transportation planning." Wade raised a brow. "Cute. Real cute." Malik dismounted, hands visible. Wade circled him once, theatrically inspecting him like he expected to find guilt somewhere in the air around him. "You got ID?" Wade asked. "Yes," Malik answered, reaching slowly. "Not so fast," Wade snapped. "I'll get it." Malik froze as Wade reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out Malik's wallet. The officer flipped it open, started chuckling. "Malik Grant." He read, "Address Uptown. You sure this is your wallet?" Malik stared at him. "Is this necessary?" "Oh, it's necessary," Wade said. "Don't want you claiming I planted something." He radioed in lazily. "Dispatch, run an ID. Name, Malik Grant." The dispatcher's voice crackled through. "Copy. Stand by." Wade leaned against the cruiser, crossing his arms. "You know," he said conversationally, "every time we stop someone who acts too confident, they always have something to hide." Malik said nothing. "Silence," he had learned, could be both a shield and a trap. Wade laughed again. You don't talk much, do you? Maybe that's good. Less stories to keep straight. Across the street, a bus finally arrived. Passengers boarded, their eyes darting between Malik and the officer. Some sympathetic, some indifferent, some entertained. The radio crackled again. Unit 34, confirming identification. Also, ministerial convoy is expected to pass Neo sector shortly. Maintain clear lanes. Wade straightened. Ministerial convoy. Copy, the dispatcher said. Transportation minister heading downtown. A flicker of confusion crossed Wade's face. Malik recognized it instantly, the moment when an assumption begins to wobble. Wade looked back at him. Transportation. Planning, huh? His tone shifted, uncertain. Where exactly did you say you work? Malik kept his voice calm. I didn't. Wade scowled, but the swagger had thinned. He handed the wallet back faster than he meant to. Fine, you can go. Malik took it quietly. Thank you. But before he could step away, Wade snapped, Hey, don't try pulling rank or something. I was just doing my job. Malik paused. Stopping someone in the bike lane without cause isn't doing your job. Wade stepped closer. Watch yourself. Malik's heartbeat thudded in his ears. Have a good morning, officer, he said, choosing the exit that cost least. He climbed back onto his bike, pushing off slowly, aware of every gaze. The humiliation clung to him like dust, fine and suffocating. As he pedaled away, he felt the weight of the moment settle into his bones. Another morning swallowed by someone else's bias, another bruise he would carry silently. Behind him, Wade watched, frowning. Transportation minister, he muttered under his breath. A seed of unease took root. And for the first time that morning, Wade wondered if he had made a mistake he could not laugh away. Malik slipped into the ministry building through the side entrance, hoping to avoid the lobby stays. His bike shoes clicked softly on the polished floor as he walked toward the elevator, shoulders slightly tense, trying to shake the residue of the encounter with Officer Wade. He didn't want the day to begin like this. Not again. Inside the elevator, he caught a glimpse of himself in the mirrored wall. Calm exterior, eyes a little too tired. He straightened his collar just as the doors opened on the 12th floor. Sir. His deputy, Lena Alvarez, jogged up with a tablet clutched to her chest. We heard something happened on your way in. Malik forced a neutral smile. Just a delay. I'm fine. You don't look fine, Lena said bluntly. Someone called the office, said a cyclist got stopped aggressively over on Eastbridge. Her voice lowered. Was that you? Malik stepped into his office, dropping his bag by the desk. Let's not make this a thing. Sir, she insisted gently, it already sounds like a thing. Before he could answer, his communications advisor, Noah, slid in with a grim expression. Morning. I know you hate when we swarm you, but what exactly happened? Malik exhaled. A traffic stop. Nothing more. Noah pulled up a video on his phone. A traffic stop that already has a blurry clip floating around. Someone filmed the officer circling you. It's gaining shares. Malik closed his eyes. Of course it is. What did he say to you? Lena asked. Malik hesitated, then answered with careful understatement. He questioned whether I belonged where I was. Lena's jaw clenched. Typical. Look, Malik said, trying to ground the room. I don't want this overshadowing the East-West corridor vote. We've spent 2 years building the proposal. Let's stay focused. Noah sat across from him. Sir, you can ignore personal attacks. I get it. But when it's on video, it becomes public, and people will ask why the transportation minister was being harassed while using the bike lanes he created. Malik's voice was steady but weary. Every time I become the story, the policy dies in the background. I'm not doing that again. Noah's tone softened. You shouldn't have to choose. He didn't respond. He simply opened his laptop and stared at the pending emails, each subject line more urgent than the last. A soft knock came from the doorway. Malik's senior engineer, Dante, stepped in. Heard the gossip, he said quietly. You okay? I'm fine, Malik repeated. Dante leaned against the wall. You know, back when I worked in Chicago, they used to stop me all the time on my way to the office, with a company logo on my damn jacket. He let out a humorless chuckle. Didn't matter. Malik nodded once, the shared understanding settling between them like dust. Anyway, Dante added, clearing his throat, we've got route simulations ready when you are. I'll review them soon, Malik replied. After Dante left, Lena placed a folder on Malik's desk. Committee wants to see the updated traffic flow maps. And, sir, she paused, expression softening. If you ever want to talk, not as your deputy, but as a friend, I'm here. He gave her a grateful nod. Thanks, Lena. When his office door finally closed, the silence felt heavier than before. Meanwhile, across town, Officer Wade Harlan sat at his cluttered desk, typing a report with the confidence of someone who'd written hundreds just like it. He narrated aloud to himself as he typed. Cyclist appeared agitated, refused basic inquiries, displayed uncooperative demeanor. His partner, Jordan, glanced over. Did he refuse, or did you just think he might? Wade shot him a look. I know how to write a report. Jordan shrugged. I'm just asking. The video online doesn't exactly match your narration. Wade froze. What video? Oh, Jordan said slowly. You didn't see? Someone was recording the stop. It's posted everywhere. Wade grabbed his phone, scrolling rapidly until he found it, a 12-second clip showing him towering over Malik's bike, smirking, gesturing broadly. His voice wasn't audible, but his posture said enough. It's nothing, Wade muttered, tossing the phone down. People film everything now. Doesn't mean anything. Jordan hesitated. You might want to keep it clean. You never know who that guy was. Just some pushy cyclist. Wade scoffed. Don't start with a guilt trip. But Jordan didn't look convinced. Supervisor said the highway department was involved. Something about a convoy. Wade waved him off. Politicians don't ride bikes. Back in the ministry offices, Malik joined a team briefing in the conference room. The long oval table was filled with planners, engineers, advisors, analysts, people depending on him to steer a billion-dollar infrastructure plan. Their voices quieted when he walked in. Good morning, Malik greeted. A few exchanged nervous glances. Lena began the presentation. Numbers scrolled across the display. Projected traffic reductions, public transit growth, long-term savings. Malik focused, forcing his mind onto the policy. But halfway through the meeting, an administrator leaned over to whisper into Lena's ear. Lena stiffened. She turned toward Malik. So, the mayor's office wants an update. They are asking if you were the cyclist in the video. The room's atmosphere shifted instantly. Malik's eyes stayed on the spreadsheet. Tell them I'll call after the briefing. Yes, sir, Lena replied, though the tension didn't settle. A junior analyst cleared her throat softly. Sir, I'm sorry if this is out of line, but people are talking about how calm you stayed. It's honestly admirable. Malik looked up at her gently. Calm isn't always a choice. Sometimes it's survival. The room fell silent. Later, after the meeting, Malik stood alone by the tall windows overlooking the city he helped shape. Cars, buses, and bikes moved below like pieces of a puzzle he spent years assembling. Yet despite all his work, there was still street where people saw him as a target before they saw him as a leader. His phone buzzed. Noah again. So, Noah said, media outlets are asking for comment. They don't know it's you. Yet. Malik closed his eyes. Let's keep it that way. For now. What if the full video drops? Noah pressed. Then I'll deal with it, Malik said quietly. But right now, the city needs the corridor plan more than it needs my personal battle. Noah paused, voice thick with concern. I just want you to be safe. Sir? And seen. Both at the same time. Malik looked down at the streets below. Some days, he murmured, that feels impossible. And as the city moved on beneath him, he wondered how many more mornings would begin like this, how many more moments would be twisted into stories he never wanted to tell. The precinct buzzed with the usual mid-morning noise, printers churning, Radios crackling, officers trading weekend jokes. But Officer Wade Harlan walked through the room with the swagger of someone who believed the day belonged to him. He slapped a report folder onto his desk and twisted his chair around, announcing loudly, "You should have seen this cyclist I stopped this morning. Guy was acting like he was above the law." Two officers from the adjacent desks looked up. "Oh yeah," one of them, Mills, asked. "What did he do? Blow through a light?" "Nope," Wade said proudly. "Just rode like he owned the place." "Mowdy, too." Officer Lee chuckled. "Man, cyclists think they're saving the world one pedal at a time." Wade smirked, enjoying the attention. "Exactly. This one gave me attitude from the second I pulled up. I had to check him real quick." Mills tilted his chin toward the corner. "You got the video circulating online? Looks like someone clipped your stop." Wade waved it off. "People record everything. Doesn't mean they understand anything. Context matters." Jordan, his partner, glanced over from his own desk. "Your version of context and reality don't always match." Wade shot him a glare. "Meaning?" Jordan lifted his hands. "Just saying, the clip shows you laughing in the guy's face." "Because he was trying to act smart," Wade snapped. "Told me he was in transportation planning." He rolled his eyes. "Come on, who says that on a morning stop?" Lee grinned. "Probably some office intern trying to impress you." Wade leaned back, satisfied. "Exactly what I thought." Across the room, Sergeant Coleman stepped out of his office and cleared his throat. The chatter quieted slightly. "Harlan, my office." Wade immediately straightened, smoothing his uniform before heading in. Coleman shut the door behind them and gestured to the chair opposite his desk. "You seen the video?" Coleman asked. "Yes, sir," Wade said, trying to sound unfazed. "Looks bad," Coleman replied bluntly. "It's a biased clip," Wade countered. "Doesn't show the whole interaction. Guy was being evasive." Coleman raised an eyebrow. "Evasive how?" He wouldn't answer my questions," Wade said, stumbling only slightly. "What questions?" Coleman pressed. "Well, where he worked, where he got his bike." Coleman stared at him. "Harlan, that is not cause for a stop." Wade's jaw tightened. "I thought something was off. You know how it is, intuition." Coleman leaned forward. "Intuition is not probable cause, and you know that. And the department does not need more videos of officers escalating routine stops." Wade felt heat rising in his neck. "Look, Sarge, I handle my job the way I've always handled it. Firm but fair." Coleman's expression didn't change. "We've also gotten a call from city administration asking if we know who the cyclist was." Wade frowned. "Why would the city care?" "That's what I'm asking you," Coleman said. "Is there something you're not telling me?" "No," Wade said quickly. "Just some guy trying too hard." Coleman sat back. "Well, someone thinks he might be important." "So what's yourself? If this blows up, I can't shield you." Wade stiffened. "There's nothing to blow up." Coleman didn't look convinced. "Dismissed." Wade left the office with a tight jaw, feeling the first stirrings of unease but refusing to name it. Later, in the locker room, his colleagues gathered around him again. Mills grinned as he pulled off his boots. "Your video's getting comments like crazy. Someone said you humiliated a cyclist for no reason." Wade scoffed. "Online people love drama." "Yeah, but isn't the city cracking down on profiling?" Lee asked. "Profiling?" Wade barked a laugh. "It wasn't profiling. Guy just acted suspicious." Jordan looked up from his locker. "Suspicious how?" "Riding a bike in a bike lane." Wade glared at him. "I know what suspicious looks like." "Do you?" Jordan asked quietly. The room froze. Wade stepped forward. "What's that supposed to mean?" Jordan held his ground. "It means your instincts aren't always right, and your report doesn't match the video. And if the cyclist really is someone important, you might want to rethink your narrative." Wade scoffed loudly, deflecting. "Oh, come on. You're acting like I pulled over the mayor." Jordan didn't laugh. "Not funny." Wade shrugged. Look, I handled it fine. Guy was nervous, talked back, didn't respect authority. Cases like that, you've got to show confidence. Confidence, Jordan repeated, or intimidation. Wade's mouth twitched. Same thing. Jordan shook his head. No, they are not. Wade felt irritation thudding in his chest. He turned to the others. See? This is what happens when rookies get too sensitive. Lee chuckled weakly but didn't fully join in. Jordan spoke softly. It's not sensitivity. It's accountability. Wade smirked, pretending the comment didn't bother him. Well, the department seems to like my work just fine. Jordan zipped his jacket. Until they don't. Wade's expression hardened, but Jordan walked out before he could answer. Back at his desk, Wade typed another revision of his report. This time, he added more phrases: non-compliant, verbal tension, unclear intentions. Words designed to fill in blanks, to justify, to protect him. He paused, fingers hovering over the keyboard. What if the cyclist was someone important? He shook the thought off immediately. No way, he muttered. Politicians don't ride bikes. But the dispatch voice from earlier kept replaying in his mind. Transportation Minister en route. Wade pushed the thought aside and clicked Submit Report, the final line freezing on the screen. Officer acted in accordance with standard procedures. He sat back. For the first time that day, the lie felt heavier than he expected. By evening, the city glowed in the orange haze of street lamps flickering awake, and Malik wished he could disappear into that warm blur, unnoticed and unburdened. But the world had other plans. His phone buzzed relentlessly through his last meeting, each vibration like a small warning. Finally, when the session ended, he stepped into the hallway and checked the notifications. Noah had sent 10 messages. It's spreading. The clip has a clearer version now. Someone posted the audio. So, the laugh is unmistakable. Malik shut his eyes briefly. Of course they found the audio. He wasn't surprised. Footage never stayed blurry for long. Once the internet smelled injustice, someone always sharpened it, transcribed it, remixed it, turning a moment of humiliation into a public exhibit. He called Noah. Noah picked up instantly. It's everywhere, sir. Twitter, TikTok, news blogs. People are sharing it faster than we can track. They are calling it the bike lane incident. Malik rubbed his forehead. Perfect. They've named it. There's more, Noah added. The clip doesn't show your face, but the bike model is recognizable. Your custom frame, people noticed. Malik's stomach tightened. So they're guessing. They're guessing close, Noah said. I denied nothing, confirmed nothing, but journalists are circling. Malik leaned against the wall outside his office. I don't want this to become political fuel. So, Noah said gently, it already is. Across town, in his apartment littered with takeout boxes and police manuals he never read, Wade sat hunched over the glow of his TV. Every channel played the same 12 seconds. There he was, laughing, leaning too close, posture dripping with condescension. The audio replayed. Didn't know Cyclist came pre-packaged with excuses these days. Wade grimaced. Out of context, he muttered. Completely out of context. But the internet didn't care about context. It cared about patterns, and this fit the pattern neatly. He scrolled through the comments under the video. Another officer showing off. Classic profiling. Why do they always do this? Find him. Wade felt heat creep up his neck. They don't even know what he did. He snapped at the screen. He was being suspicious. A notification popped up, a message from Sergeant Coleman. Call me. Wade tossed his phone aside. He didn't want to lecture. Instead, he opened the fridge, grabbed a beer, and turned the volume up. But the broadcaster's next line froze in mid-sip. City sources suggest the cyclist may have been a government official, possibly connected to transportation infrastructure. Wade sat up straight. No way. He replayed the line. Transportation infrastructure. He felt something drop in his stomach. What if? He whispered, then shook his head. No, couldn't be. He grabbed his phone and reluctantly called Coleman. The sergeant answered immediately. "Harlan, tell me you're seeing the news." "I'm seeing it," Wade said, voice tight. "It's just speculation." "Speculation that's lining up," Coleman interrupted. "We've had inquiries from 2 council officers and someone from the ministry." Wade sat rigid. "Ministry? Ministry of what?" Coleman sighed. "Transportation." Silence. A long, thick silence. Then Wade croaked. "It's just coincidence." "You better pray it is," Coleman said, "because if you laughed in the face of the transportation minister while stopping him without cause, this department will not protect you." Wade swallowed hard. "I didn't know who he was." "Doesn't matter," Coleman replied. "Your behavior is a problem." Wade's fingers curled into fists. He was acting. "No," Coleman snapped. "He was riding a bike. That's not a crime. You escalated, and now it's blowing up." The call ended before Wade could defend himself. He threw the beer bottle against the wall. It shattered, glass spraying across the floor like fragmented blame. "No," he hissed. "They're not pinning this on me." But even as he said it, a cold fear seeped through him. Back at the ministry, Malik sat in a quiet conference room, the lights dim except for the glow of his tablet as he read messages from elected officials. "We're monitoring the situation. Advise restraint. Please avoid statements that could inflame tensions." He let out a humorless laugh. "Inflame? The flames are already there." The door opened. Lena entered, hesitant. "Sir, media is gathering outside the building. They want a statement." Malik shook his head. "Not tonight." "What should we tell them?" "No comment." Lena nodded, lingering as if wanting to say more. "So, people are rallying around you. They're angry at what happened." Malik sighed. "They're angry at the pattern, not just me." "Maybe that's good," Lena said softly. "Maybe it's time that Patton is seen clearly." But Malik wasn't convinced. Patterns were seen, then forgotten, then seen again like a bad rerun. He didn't want to be the face of another cycle. "Lena," he said, "I just want to work on the corridor bill." "I know," she whispered, "but the city may want something else from you now." Her words lingered long after she left. Meanwhile, the video hit national news. A panel of commentators analyzed the clip frame by frame, debating policing, race, mobility justice, city planning. They didn't know Malik's name yet, but they spoke of him as if he represented something larger. And he did. He just wished he didn't have to. He stared out the dark window of his office, the glass reflecting a man trapped between responsibility and exhaustion. His phone buzzed once more. No again. "So," the message read, "a major outlet is about to publish an article. They've identified you." Malik closed his eyes. There it was. The leak. The moment the city would stop seeing just a cyclist and start seeing the minister who had been humiliated in a public street. He whispered to the empty room. "So, it begins." Morning sunlight spilled across the ministry building. But inside the press room, the air was thick and electric. Reporters packed themselves shoulder to shoulder in the narrow aisles, whispering, checking their phones, preparing questions sharper than knives. Camera crews jostled for angles. Microphones cluttered the podium like a field of metal flowers facing the sun. Malik stood just outside the double doors, adjusting his tie, feeling a pressure in his chest that was neither fear nor anger, just a familiar weight of being seen for the wrong reasons. Noah leaned in. "Sir, remember, start with policy. Keep the focus on the corridor bill. If they push, we control the narrative." Malik gave a small nod. "Let's hope they let me." "They won't," Lena muttered, "but we'll try." A staffer gestured. It was time. The doors opened. A sudden burst of camera flashes hit Malik like heat. He stepped up to the podium, placed his notes down, and greeted the crowd. "Good morning," he began, voice steady. "Today, I want to address the East-West Corridor project." A reporter immediately shouted, "Minister Grant, was that you in the viral cycling video?" Another voice chimed in. "Did the officer know who you were? Were you racially profiled?" Malik raised a hand. "If I may, I will begin with a corridor project, and then we can address. More interruptions flooded in. So, transparency is important. Why haven't you commented yet? Is the city hiding something? Noah stepped forward, one question at a time. But the room smelled blood. Malik inhaled deeply. The corridor is designed to. A reporter from Channel 7 cut him off. Minister, respectfully, the city is on fire over that video. Are you the cyclist or not? The room fell momentarily still, the silence vibrating with expectation. Malik lowered his notes. He looked directly into the cameras. Yes, he said quietly. It was me. A collective gasp surged across the room. Malik continued before they could swallow him in questions again. I was on my way to the office. I was stopped by an officer. I cooperated. And what you heard in that video, what many of you saw, was not unfamiliar. Not to me. Not to many others in this city. The reporters exchanged glances, murmuring, recalibrating. Malik's voice stayed even, but the room felt it tremble at the edges. This is not about a single officer or a single cyclist. It is about the experiences people face every day in our streets. Moments where assumptions turn into suspicion, suspicion turns into escalation, and escalation turns into humiliation. A reporter raised a hand. Are you accusing the officer of racial profiling? Malik paused. I am stating that what happened to me fits a pattern recognized by thousands of residents. You reported on those stories yourselves. I am not exempt from that pattern, and the visibility of my job doesn't protect me from it. Do you want the officer fired? Another asked. No, Malik answered firmly. This isn't about personal punishment. It's about institutional accountability. The goal is not to ruin a man. The goal is to fix a system that is failing too many. The room simmered with intensity now, a mix of admiration, discomfort, and hunger for more. One reporter in the back shouted, Do you think this will affect your corridor bill? Malik's jaw tightened. It shouldn't. But will it? Someone else echoed. Malik looked down at his notes, then back at the cameras. If the city can't focus on improving transportation infrastructure because a minister was stopped and mocked while using it, then our priorities are deeply misplaced. The room fell quiet for a heartbeat, the kind of silent truth often demands before it sinks in. Noah cleared his throat. That's all for now. But before he could finish, a young reporter called out, Minister Grant, what did the officer say to you? The audio is incomplete. Malik hesitated. This was the moment he dreaded, turning private humiliation into public script. He swallowed lightly. He suggested that my bike looked above my pay grade. A sharp ripple moved across the room, a collective reaction, soft but unmistakable. And, Malik added, that cyclists like me come pre-packaged with excuses. Gasps. Phones held higher. Headlines already forming. Did you feel unsafe? Someone asked. Malik thought about it. No, he said honestly. I felt diminished, which is a different kind of harm. The reporters scribbled faster. A final question rose from the middle row. What do you hope happens now, Minister? Malik looked into the lights, imagining the countless households watching, waiting, interpreting. I hope, he said slowly, that this city learns to see people before it judges them. I hope our institutions examine themselves as closely as they examine everyday citizens. And I hope we start treating each moment not as an isolated incident, but as part of a broader story we must confront. He stepped back from the podium. Noah announced, That concludes today's questions. The room erupted into overlapping voices, but Malik had already turned to leave. Across the city, in the precinct break room, Wade stared at the television mounted on the wall. His knuckles whitened around his coffee cup. Malik's face filled the screen, calm, resolute, unshakably composed. Wade whispered, That's him. That's really him. Another officer muttered, You're done, man. Wade didn't respond. His throat felt tight, the air too thin. The room seemed to tilt slightly. He replayed every second of the stop in his mind, the laugh he thought was harmless, the dismissive questions, the smake. Didn't know cyclists came pre-packaged with excuses. He cringed hearing his own voice echo through the speakers. On screen, Malik walked out of the press room with the steady bearing of someone who had learned to survive storms far worse than this one. Wade felt his stomach knot. This can't be happening. But the truth had arrived in full daylight, and daylight had no mercy. The fallout erupted faster than anyone expected. By noon the next day, City Hall was drowning in press calls, public statements, political scrambling, and carefully worded expressions of concern. Malik watched it unfold like a storm moving across a map, predictable in shape, unpredictable in consequence. Councilwoman Rivera called first. "Minister Grant, we stand with you," she said, her tone warm but polished. "But please understand we have to navigate this delicately. Police unions are already on edge." Malik exhaled. "Of course they are. You know how it goes," Rivera continued. "A single officer becomes a symbol. They'll circle the wagons, even when the symbol is accurate." Malik asked. Rivera paused. "Symbols aren't about accuracy. They're about fear." Malik thanked her for the call, though neither of them believed it changed much. Next came a message from the mayor's chief of staff. "The mayor will be releasing a statement supporting transparency. We ask that you refrain from further public commentary to avoid inflaming tensions." Malik read the line twice. Refrain from further commentary. He almost laughed. He wasn't the one who created the tension. He was the one who had lived it. Noah stormed into his office moments later. "Sir, if the mayor downplays this, it'll look like they are minimizing what happened to you." "I know," Malik said, rubbing his temples. "What do you want to do?" Noah asked. Malik leaned back, staring at the ceiling for a long moment. "I want to do my job." Lena entered, shutting the door behind her. That may not be enough anymore. Across town, the police union held an emergency meeting. The precinct conference room buzzed with hushed conversations as representatives reviewed the now infamous video. Wade sat in the corner, shoulders stiff, trying to appear calm. Union Rep Frank Donnelly stood at the front. "Look, everyone, we're dealing with a political moment. The minister's press conference has shifted public opinion. We need to be proactive." A veteran officer scoffed. "Proactive how?" He embarrassed the department. Jordan spoke up cautiously. "He didn't embarrass the department. Wade did." Wade's face snapped toward him. "You don't know what you're talking about." Jordan kept his gaze level. "I know what I saw that morning, and what everyone saw in that video." Donnelly raised a hand. "Enough. This isn't about personal feelings. Harlan, your incident is now the center of a citywide debate. We need to coordinate." Wade's voice came out clipped. "What are you saying? That I'm being thrown under the bus?" "No one's throwing you anywhere," Donnelly replied. "But we can't fight every battle. The minister is respected. He has political capital. And the video looks bad." "It is bad," Jordan whispered. Wade stood abruptly. "You trying to get me fired?" Jordan shook his head. "I'm trying to get you to see what you did." The room tensed. Donnelly stepped between them. "Harlan, you are being placed on modified duty effective immediately." Wade's mouth dropped open. "You're suspending me." "Not suspension," Donnelly said. "Modified duty, while the investigation proceeds." "It's the same thing," Wade barked. "Everyone will know why." A heavy silence settled over the room. "It's procedural," Donnelly insisted. "We're protecting the department." Wade sank back into his chair, hand shaking slightly. "You're protecting yourselves." No one contradicted him. Back at the ministry, Malik sat in a meeting with senior officials. The long conference table was lined with leadership, deputy ministers, agency heads, policy directors, all watching him with a blend of sympathy and strategic calculation. Deputy Minister Caldwell cleared his throat. "Minister Grant, we support you, but the governor's office is cautious. They want assurances this won't derail the infrastructure vote." Malik's eyes narrowed. "My experience shouldn't derail anything." Caldwell gave a diplomatic nod. "Of course, but politics is perception. If the public outrage shifts from systemic issues to internal blame games, the bill becomes collateral." Lena spoke up. "With respect, this isn't his fault. He shouldn't have to shrink himself so the city feels comfortable." Another official murmured, "We're not asking him to shrink himself, just to be strategic." Malik could feel the tightrope under his feet. They wanted him to speak, but not too loudly, to be angry, but not too visibly, to be symbolic, but not disruptive. He said quietly, "The corridor bill should stand on its own merits, and the conversation about policing should stand on its own truths." Noah nodded, but others looked uneasy. Caldwell folded his hands. "We all want progress, Minister, but progress requires compromise." Malik's jaw clenched. "Compromise," he echoed, "the word we use when people in power want things calmer." Caldwell didn't deny it. That evening, activists organized a small demonstration outside City Hall. Signs read, "Cycling while black. Accountability now. Streets belong to all of U.S." Malik watched the live stream alone in his office. The crowd chanted, passionate but peaceful. Several speakers mentioned him by name, calling him a symbol of a larger fight. He didn't know how to feel about that. Gratitude? Discomfort? Pressure? Lena entered quietly. "You see this?" "I see it. It's bigger than the corridor bill now." Malik sighed. "I know. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed," she said softly. He turned toward her, eyes tired. "I'm allowed many things, but I don't get to use them." Lena stepped closer. "So, you don't have to carry this alone." Malik gave a faint smile. "But you know I will." She didn't argue. Meanwhile, Wade sat alone in his dark apartment, the TV muted but still playing footage of Malik leaving his office surrounded by staff and supporters. Wade watched him with a tight, bitter expression. "Is turning this into a crusade," Wade muttered, "making me the villain." He didn't notice how hollow the words sounded, even to himself. But the city had already chosen its story, and both men were trapped inside it. City Hall's public chamber felt like a pressure cooker the morning of the disciplinary hearing. Rows of seats filled quickly with reporters, activists, policy aides, police representatives, and ordinary residents who had taken time off work just to witness the moment. Microphones and cameras crowded the aisles, their red recording lights blinking like watchful eyes. Malik entered quietly through the staff corridor, Lena and Noah flanking him. Even with a controlled entry, the room buzzed the moment he walked in. Whispers, camera clicks, the shifting weight of expectation. He felt all of it pressing against his ribs. "Remember," Noah murmured, "you speak only when called. Keep it measured." Lena added, "We're right behind you." Malik nodded, though steadiness was something he had already forced himself to carry. At the front of the chamber sat the three-member review panel. At the center was Chairwoman Dr. Evelyn Sharp, a composed, sharply observant figure known for her unflinching commitment to fairness. She tapped her pen gently as the room settled. "Good morning," she began. "Today's purpose is to review the conduct of Officer Wade Harlan regarding the incident involving Minister Malik Grant. This is a public hearing. We will maintain order." A low rumble spread through the audience. Wade was led in from the side door, face tight, shoulders squared. The uniform he wore felt stiffer than usual, or maybe it was the way he carried it. He avoided looking in Malik's direction. The proceedings began with routine introductions. Then Chairwoman Sharp gestured toward the first witness, Officer Jordan Lee. Jordan rose from his seat, expression firm but troubled. As he approached the stand, Wade's eyes narrowed, as if betrayed. Jordan raised his right hand, took the oath, and Saturday, "Officer," Sharp began, "describe what you witnessed the morning of the incident." Jordan spoke slowly, choosing his words with precision. "We were patrolling the Eastbridge area. Officer Harlan initiated a stop on a cyclist. I didn't see any violation. No swerving, no traffic infraction. The cyclist was in the bike lane." Sharp tilted her head. "Did Officer Harlan state a reason afterward?" Jordan hesitated. "He said he felt something was off." Murmurs rose. Sharp tapped her pen. "And how did the officer interact with the cyclist?" Jordan exhaled. "He laughed at him, mocked him, questioned why he had a high-end bike. I felt uncomfortable with the tone." Wade suddenly leaned forward. "That's not how it happened." Sharp cut him off. Officer Harlan, you will speak only when addressed. Wade's jaw clenched as he sat back. Jordan continued. When dispatch mentioned a ministerial convoy, Officer Harlan changed his behavior. He ended the stop quickly. Sharp nodded. Thank you, Officer Lee. Jordan stepped down. Next came two civilian witnesses, a dog walker and a bus commuter. Both testified they saw no reason for the stop, and both remarked on Wade's demeanor. He looked amused, the dog walker said, like he was teaching someone a lesson. The bus commuter added, the cyclist wasn't doing anything wrong. The officer seemed dismissive. Each testimony chipped away at Wade's confidence. Even from a distance, Malik could see the stiffening of his shoulders, the flicker of doubt behind his eyes. Then the panel turned to Wade. He took the oath with a trembling hand, though he tried to hide it. When he sat, he adopted the same confident posture he'd used for years. Officer Harlan, Sharp began, describe the purpose of your stop. He swallowed. The cyclist appeared evasive. Evasive how? He didn't answer my questions directly. What questions? Sharp pressed. Wade hesitated. Where he worked, what he was doing in that area. Are those standard questions for a cyclist in a bike lane? He stared at her, caught. I was assessing the situation. Sharp's tone sharpened. Assessing or assuming? A ripple moved through the room. Wade shifted uncomfortably. Look, I treated him like I treat anyone. Firm but fair. Sharp raised an eyebrow. The video presents a different picture. That video lacks context. Sharp leaned forward. Then give us the context, officer. Wade's mouth parted, but nothing came out. His eyes darted briefly toward Malik, as if searching for an explanation he could borrow. Sharp spoke again, voice crisp. Officer Harlan, did you believe the cyclist did not belong in that area? Wade's jaw tightened. No, I was just cautious. Did you make comments about his bike being above his pay grade? Wade flushed. I might have said something like that. Is that appropriate professional conduct? Silence. Wade's confidence cracked visibly. Sharp concluded. Officer, it appears your behavior derived not from suspicion but from bias. This panel must consider the implications. Wade deflated in his chair. The room waited. Finally, Sharp turned toward Malik. Minister Grant. He rose and walked to the stand, the weight of the room shifting with him. After taking the oath, Sharp asked gently, Minister, in your own words, what did you experience? Malik clasped his hands. A power imbalance. Not because he had a badge, but because he assumed a narrative about me the moment he saw me. I stayed calm because escalation leads to danger. Not for him, for me. He paused as the room leaned closer. I've spent years designing safer streets, so people can move through the city without fear. But even on a road I helped shape, I wasn't safe from assumption. A hush fell. Malik continued softly. This isn't about one officer. It's about a system that lets moments like this flourish quietly until someone records them. I'm not here seeking revenge. I'm here seeking honesty. Sharp nodded once. Thank you, Minister. When Malik returned to his seat, even Wade couldn't bring himself to look at him. Sharp addressed the room. We will issue our recommendation soon. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel struck. The chamber erupted in whispers, cameras flashing. And Wade finally understood. The truth had outrun him. The city's official statement came 3 days after the hearing. Clear, firm, and impossible to spin. Officer Wade Harlan would be removed from street duty indefinitely, pending termination procedures. That single sentence rippled through the city like a controlled explosion, measured, intentional, but still shattering whatever illusions remained. Some celebrated it as a long overdue consequence. Others condemned it as political appeasement. Others, predictably, blamed Malik personally. Malik watched the press conference from his office, standing with his arms crossed, expression unreadable. Lena and Noah hovered nearby, waiting for some sign of relief or vindication. But Malik just whispered, it shouldn't take a scandal for accountability to happen. Noah exhaled. So, something did happen. People saw it. They listened. Because a camera was there, Malik said quietly. Imagine the things that happen when it isn't. Neither of them had an answer. Across town, Wade sat alone in his dim apartment. The blinds were half closed, casting slanted shadows across the floor. His badge lay on the table, not taken yet, but useless now. He stared at it with a strange blend of anger and disbelief, like it belonged to someone else. His phone buzzed occasionally with messages from colleagues. Man, rough situation. Stay strong. Legal is reviewing options. But the silence between those messages felt louder, the silence of people distancing themselves, protecting their own futures. Wade rubbed his face with both hands. I'm not a bad cop, he muttered. I just did what I always do. How did it get this far? The question echoed back at him, unanswered. He replayed the hearing in his head. Jordan's testimony, the civilian's accounts, Malik's calm, devastating clarity. Each detail chipped at the story he had built around himself. He wanted to believe he was a victim of a political moment, but even he could no longer fully buy the narrative. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. I didn't think he was anyone important, he whispered. But now he understood the truth. Everyone is important, and he had never acted like it. Meanwhile, the city churned with layered reactions. Activists organized forums. News outlets ran nightly segments dissecting the hearing. Police unions issued defensive statements. Commentators debated systemic failures, policy reform, and the fragile trust between officers and the communities they serve. Some praised Malik's testimony as transformative. Others accused him of politicizing a personal moment. Some called him a hero. Others called him a threat. Malik read none of the articles. He knew the cycle too well. That evening, he stood before the large window of his office, watching the city lights flicker like restless stars. Lena entered quietly. You're still here, she said softly. I needed a moment, Malik replied. She stepped beside him. You spoke for so many people in that hearing. You did something meaningful. Malik shook his head lightly. I didn't fix anything. That's not how change works, she said. It's slow, heavy, unfair. But you moved something. He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he watched a cyclist glide through an intersection below, the bike laying glowing neon under street lamps, a path he had championed. Do you ever get tired? Malik asked. Lena let out a sad chuckle. All the time. But I don't stop. He nodded. Neither do I. She placed a hand on his arm. Go home, Malik. Rest. Just for tonight. He allowed himself a small, grateful smile. Yeah, maybe I will. The next morning, just before sunrise, Malik returned to the streets on his bike. The city was quiet again, as it had been the morning of the incident, a moment suspended between night and day, between old harm and new resolve. Cool wind brushed against his face as he pedaled, steady and deliberate, reclaiming the rhythm he'd lost. He passed the East Bridge intersection. The place where the stop had happened, the place where humiliation had dug its roots into him, the place he had replayed in his mind like a bruised press again and again. Malik slowed to a stop. The street was empty, just painted lines, just pale light, just memory. He inhaled, feeling the air stretch his lungs in a way that was almost painful. Then he whispered to himself, barely audible, You're still here. He placed one foot back on the pedal and rode on. Meanwhile, Wade sat in the precinct internal review office, awaiting paperwork. His uniform felt heavy. When the internal affairs officer entered, Wade straightened reflexively. You'll receive notice of next steps by mail, the officer said. You're excused for now. Wade nodded stiffly. Is this final? The officer paused. You'll have chances to respond, but the panel's recommendation is clear. Wade swallowed hard. Right. He walked out of the building, each step heavier than the last. For the first time in years, the city felt bigger than him, a place he didn't control, didn't understand, and couldn't outrun. Outside, reporters waited. Officer Harlan, do you have a statement? Do you regret your actions? Was bias involved? Wade shielded his face and pushed past them, voice low. No comment. But one question stopped him mid-step. Do you understand why people are angry? Wade froze. A long silence stretched. When he finally spoke, it came out faint, almost fragile. "I'm starting to." Later that day, Malik finished a meeting about the corridor bill and stepped into the hallway just as a group of interns passed by. One of them paused. "Minister Grant," the young woman said softly. "Thank you." He turned to her. "For what?" "For telling the truth," she replied. "People needed to hear it." Malik felt something shift inside him, something heavy but also light. "Thank you," he said. As she walked away, he stood still for a moment, letting the words settle. The city had changed, not entirely, not permanently, but undeniably, and so had he. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, Malik rode home on his bike, blending into the traffic he had spent his life trying to improve. The breeze felt different now, not lighter, not freer, but honest. Carrying a city was heavy, but Malik carried it anyway, one steady pedal at a time.